All right, we're on to showcase number 114 today. So we're really racking up the numbers, and we have plenty of stuff to go over today. There's a lot of stuff on screen right now that you're probably not going to care about. Maybe you do, doesn't really matter. I'll explain it all in time. Right now, though, it's not particularly important. Later in the showcase, though, we have a bunch of different code-related things to go over, as well as equipment stuff. I finally got the equipment to work, which is fantastic with the new inventory system and all that. We have a ton of new functionality with the Discord bot, which I've also been working on, and I've also been kind of cleaning up stuff in different places. There's also a couple more hairs that have been added. I don't know if I'll be going over that yet. I'm pretty tempted to go over all of the hair and clothing stuff at once because that's all sort of related. But TLDR, clothing's on the way. Most of the hairs are done. Weapons are being imported, and the different racial features and stuff are also being worked on. Or rather, we already had them, and I'm just working on how to import them properly as sort of like hair substitutes, or rather not hair substitutes, but like hair adjacents. Whatever the case, we're going to go ahead and get started here. So I've been working quite a bit on our Discord bot, and as of the current moment, it's called Rumi's Stand. I recognize that's a little cringy, but he's a little guy. He's my little friend. And if you aren't aware, this is actually pretty basic stuff. Making a Discord bot is not too crazy, and it's hosted on the server, so it's actually very straightforward to get that up and running. The functional way I do it right now is I just make sure that the server's up, which it is, and boom. Because it's up, I don't have to really worry about much else. It runs alongside the game server, so, and again, it also doesn't really take that many resources, which is great for our purposes because it doesn't lag gameplay and it won't really be infringed upon if the game itself is lagging. So, fantastic. Anyway, the way that this works is pretty straightforward. The most fundamental way you can access it is by typing modulo trees or % trees, whichever you prefer. And for the record, that is the little delimiter I'm using for this bot. So if you type excuse me, % trees, it'll tell you all of the trees in the game, including racial trees. Currently, this doesn't include melee trees, and that's because they're all technically speaking under the same type, right? Because melee trees don't have elemental affinities applied, which means blah, blah, blah. Anyway, they just have the same type, so if I were to implement them here, you would just have one tree full of every single weapon spell. So for the moment, they aren't there, but they'll be here soon. Anyway, this is something you can do right now as well if you so chose. Anyway, you can type % tree or % spells. Either one works, and you can type in any spell tree name. And water is an elemental tree, which means it's one of the 5 primary elements, which means it has 5 spells. And if you look at like ice, for instance, same syntax, you get 3 spells because it's a hybrid tree. Same deal there. And if you type in spell rather than spells and type in a name here, you don't need to worry about spaces, so you can separate these. If I type in frigid spike, capitalization is also irrelevant. You can get the in-game data formatted with its little thumbnail here, and something I'm very proud of is you have this this little stripe on the side that matches the tree name. So if we do like crawling field, which is a nature spell, it'll come up green. I know it's kind of a small thing, but I feel like it looks really nice, so I enjoy it. The only thing that is currently kind of unfinished with this right now, other than the melee thing, is probably the tags. So it needs to scrape these HTML tags out of here, and it needs to convert these tags to use this damage down here. The current dilemma I'm having with that is in-game, this bonus uses your own values to convert itself. So it would be a little confusing and a little misleading if that wasn't the case, but we'll think about that later. It's not a huge concern, and you can easily see the base damage down here anyway. But whatever the case, that's pretty cool, pretty dope, and I think that that's basically everything so far. I'm looking to implement more functionality. I've talked about it for a little bit now, and admin commands are already something I'm playing with and toying with. I'm not going to talk about that too much, though. I don't want to give too much away about that before it's done. The actual functionality here is mostly going to be for players, I've decided. So even though there will be admin command functionality, it's primarily going to be here for players. And I'll be going on in the next clip to talk a little bit more about patron stuff and how that's going to work with this bot. So one moment. Alright, so next up for the Discord bot stuff is patron related things. So a brief story about this. Basically, I tried to get the patron API to work. Turns out you need to have all this authentication, which is totally cool and secure, and I'm very proud of them for it. But it involves a login button, and I don't want to have you guys log in to my game under Patreon and your own account, because that sounds shady as hell, first of all, but also because it's just roundabout and very slow and sluggish and annoying, and, you know, so on and so forth. So I decided against going with that. I just wanted to bring up a list of connected patrons, but it looks like that's incredibly, like I said, roundabout to do with Patron API, especially when it automatically updates the Discord with the proper rules anyway. So what I'm doing instead, especially because I think that this will be a little bit easier on players anyways, is you can go here, and if you are a patron, I'm not currently a patron right now, so I don't think it'll work with me. Maybe I am. Let's check. No, I'm not. Okay. So I'm not a patron. I don't think it'll work. But the point is, you type in %patron, and then you'll type in whatever your in-game name is, so your account name, and this will basically tie your Discord patronage to your account. In the future, this is going to work with multiple accounts, depending on your patronage, so you'll be able to tie multiple people's account names, which is essentially like a subscribe for other people function. But at the moment, you just type %patron, and it'll tie that account. So your Discord account won't be able to tie anyone else, obviously, but you'll be able to log in at any time. This also includes accounts that aren't activated yet, and this completely bypasses the access key system. So ordinarily, if you've been watching previous showcases, you probably understand that the primary way that you get into the game, if you're a patron, or rather, if you're the proper patron tier, you grab an access key that I give you. It's kind of sluggish and slow, and if you want to invite someone else, it's very hard. So this is something I've devised to kind of circumvent that and to make it easier on people, and it literally applies the access key itself. So if you say typed this, I don't know what it'll tell me because I'm not a patron. I don't think anything yet. But basically this adds you to an exceptions list, and when you next log in or when you create the account, either works. It doesn't have to previously exist yet. It'll automatically apply an access key of one of the available ones to your account, no questions asked, and you're allowed in. This can be adjusted. So for instance, if you are applied an account exception and that exception is removed, it will then ask you for an access key, so it will revoke your access key, but that's not really going to be a huge concern for the moment. Anyways, that's pretty cool, I think. And I also did some behind the scenes work on access keys in general, so they're a little bit easier to use for my end, and also they're a little bit less sluggish, excuse my slurring. So they also generate constantly. So if they're ever below 50, including mid-game runs, so if you take an access key and it goes down to 49, it'll immediately jump back up to 50. So we'll never be out of access keys, which is a very good thing because otherwise people wouldn't be able to play the game. So clearly that's super important. Whatever the case, that's all the boring stuff out of the way, I think, most of the boring stuff. And we're going to go ahead on to the game, involvement with aggro, I think, and some other things, and weapons, and blah, blah, blah. So, hope you enjoy. Alright, so this is going to be sort of a multi-parter, I think. There's a bunch of stuff that you're going to see immediately, and when that happens, I sort of have to show everything at once, so I feel like, whatever, screw it, I might as well. First up, the base has been realigned with the hitbox. It needs to be further realigned. You can see when I walk, it's a little bit to the left, so it just needs to be pushed over to the right a little bit, and then after that it'll be fine. The other thing is the outlining is no longer fully working. I'm adjusting that, so in the future that'll be a thing that's fixed and dandy and so on and so forth. But in addition to that, we also have aggro, and aggro actually kind of works, and I showed this off a little bit last week, but I want to show it off more today because I've actually kind of refined it. So this mob over here, and again I apologize, OBS Studio really tanks my FPS. He's wandering right now. He's just kind of wandering around like he does, and if he catches his eye catches me, I guess, he'll chase me down, and when he gets close enough, he'll just stop and sit here. Currently there's no extra behavior for this, so he'll just literally sit here and stare at me and realize, okay, I'm too close, I won't continue chasing, obviously. But if I run away, he'll continue chasing, and then if I run too far away, he'll realize, and he'll turn back and leave us. And he'll walk back to his spawn, and if we can watch him from the corner of my screen, we can see that he walks back all the way back, as I guess he should, and then he'll quietly pace around, so he'll mind his own business and walk around and do his own thing, as you can see here. One thing to note is that he doesn't chase down NPCs, so other mobs won't be chased down or attacked, and they also disable if there's no one in their current map, so if you run out of the map, they will completely go dormant and walk back to their spawn, or rather vice versa, so they'll walk back to their spawn and then go dormant. That way we don't have, a ton of mobs wasting server resources. Couple other things. So in addition to that, we also have equipment working right now. I don't know. Okay, so one of the things I did recently was I've been working on a localhost server, which means it's running off of my own PC, which means that it has different save files. And I opened up my inventory and I saw that I have all these different resources, and I did not remember that, and I thought it was a bug of some kind, but it's just because it's been so long since I've played on the actual server. You're going to notice some weird stuff happening here. You can see clearly that it's out of the box. This is a bug. It's not really a bug, I guess. It's sort of like an intentional thing. It's because I adjusted the icon offsets of these weapons. So they're a little bit off, and that's because they're literally just adopting their real world, quote unquote, icon offsets, which means like when they're normally on the ground, when they're in the inventory, and that's not how they should work, but for right now it is what it is. It's literally nothing but an aesthetic thing. Anyway, these can be equipped now. So if we go to here where we can see DR up here, we can drag this in, and you can see it increases DR by 3% like it says, and we can do the same thing and drag it back out, and same deal. So equipment works perfectly now, and we can also drop it straight out of our inventory. So if I right click it, we can literally just see it drop onto the ground. And the same thing is true of overlays. So if I go back and drag this into my inventory, or into my equipment slot, you can see this very janky old overlay pop up on our character. Currently, like I said, this is a very janky and old overlay, but in the future, or rather within the next week or so, I'm going to be exchanging this with the new spine-enabled, quote-unquote, weapon overlays, which means that they're going to be actually tracked to the body, so as it moves, it'll follow the body and everything else, and it'll actually look like it, is moving with the character, which is super cool, and that's, again, only possible because of spine. So I'm super happy about that, and I'm actually really excited to see that in action, because we have spears, swords, etc., a million other things, and I'm hyped to see how that goes. But anyway, that's that. The only other thing I can really think of to mention here specifically, actually I guess there's two, so we'll go over those. The first one, maybe three. The first one is hair. So hair is properly aligned. This was a very brief bug that you didn't see, because last week it was aligned properly, but then I realigned the body to this hitbox and the hair was misaligned, so that's been fixed. In addition to that though, the ears are clearly out of place, so those will have to be realigned as well. That's something that's going to go with racial accessories, so depending on your race, your ears will probably look different. Maybe for the Ife, we'll have some pointed ears and so on and so forth. But anyway, for right now, they're just kind of hovering, so that's another thing we have to fix. And you can see also that the hair is above the HP and mana bars, so we'll probably fix that as well. Those are kind of minor things, though. It's like a tweak deal. But the only other thing right now is lighting. Lighting has been a bit of a bitch for me recently, but we've kind of gotten it worked out. The color is being very weird, but I did realize a couple bugs, and it's running a lot smoother than it was, which is really cool. And in addition to that, because I guess I keep forgetting features that I've added recently, coins work properly now too. So prior, coins did not necessarily work exactly as you expect they would. They weren't fully integrated into the new inventory system. So you can see here, they work exactly as you would expect. You can drag and drop them as you so choose. And that was because I picked it up and dropped it in the same spot, but there you go. And you can drop these out of your inventory, and you can pick them up again or whatever. Very cool. It's not too complicated. Very straightforward. And that's about that. It's not really anything super new, but it is for you guys, I guess, because last time I reviewed coins that were one of the quote-unquote unfinished inventories, so that should be good now. And also, something I forgot to mention is, because the equipment inventory works with the new system, this saves exactly as the normal inventory would. So you can do everything you can with a normal inventory with this, which means also when you log in, all of this stuff will still be here. So it works that exact same way, which probably doesn't sound like a huge feature to you guys because that's just what you expect out of games, but, it is what it is. And everything else is, about what you'd expect. So also you can drag it into a chest and unequip it that way. You don't have to unequip it beforehand. Cool. And that's about that. I think I was going to split this into multiple clips, but I might as well just keep going. The stat overlays, there were a couple bugs prior with this, and some things I should mention. First of all, the stat overlays no longer show up for ones you don't have enough stat points for. So if we go over here and check this, you can see that I'm capped on these, so they don't show up. It does currently still hide them if you move to a different overlay, but if you hit level up again, it'll show them once more. Previously, what this would do is when you were looking at a different interface that wasn't your spendable interface, it would still show them here. So that's one bug fixed. The only remaining bug with this is specifically that when you leave and come back to this interface, they are no longer there. So that's something we'll have to work on. But anyway, it's not huge. Anyway, what else? Oh, you know what? I have to show off RP stuff too. Again, apologies for shoving everything all at once. I just keep forgetting about features and then remembering them mid-clip. So RPs are pretty special now. This is something that I can't really explain super well here. I think it's best if you watch the streams or wait for the changelog that's coming up, because this stuff has been worked out like a million times over. The TLDR is now if you're gone for a long time, it gives you 10 bonus posts. So you get a large portion for your first post back, and then 10 posts you get an extra bonus. And then there's some other tiers there. So if you're gone for 48 hours, or if you're gone for 24 hours, aka a daily check or whatever it is, I think it's 8 hours to 16 hours, and then 16 hours to 48 hours. If you're going in those tiers, you'll get increasing bonuses, so that way you can kind of have a catch-up. And the daily post was an idea that I had specifically because I thought it'd be really nice to wake up and get a little bit of a boost, right? The RP quality is not super involved. It's pretty straightforward. If you have a better RP quality, as in if you match more of the these XP gain things, you'll get a higher rating. It means literally nothing but that for the moment, and you can't, in my experience, get above an uncommon, so that'll have to be readjusted, but for right now it's okay. In addition to that, though, something else I've added recently is the ability to get RP activity. So excuse me, I'm not saying the right words, I think, but anyway, you can't see it right now because my level is huge and it scales to your level. So right now I'm not actually, like, it doesn't look like I'm gaining experience, but I am. It's just a very small amount. TLDR, when you RP, when you say things, etc., you are doing so in the chat, and it's giving you quote-unquote RP activity. And what this means is every time you RP, you get, say, 30 minutes of RP activity up to, like, a couple hours. And while you're RP active, what that means is every second, or every time you regenerate, whatever you want to, measure it by, you get a small fraction of your total XP gain. So, like, if you were to gain maybe 100 XP every time you make a post because you're low level, you would gain something like maybe 1 XP per second or something similar to that. It's going to be very small. So it's not going to outmatch posts by any means, and it's constrained by RP activity, which means that you won't be able to get it just constantly. You'll have to log on and RP regularly. However, I feel like that's also another nice pick-me-up, and RPs are going to be balanced around that. So the kind of gist of it is that if you're sitting there in an RP with someone else and they're taking forever, and you can see it slowly ticking up because of my level, but anyway, if you're sitting there slowly RPing with someone and they're very, like, they're kind of dragging you down, it's not, you might like RPing with them, but they are taking a while. This should help cushion that a little bit, because you can think, okay, well, I'm at least getting a small portion of this experience, right? Or of my next post every second that they take longer, which is pretty cool. I enjoy that aspect. I feel like it lessens the, like, intensity a little bit, and you can see it jump to 77 here. But like I said, it's not going to be too high because that would be kind of ridiculous, and it's not going to be too low either. You're seeing it at this extremely low rate because I'm level 250, which is nearly 3 times higher than I ever expect anyone to get, so, that's that. In addition, I think that's everything. Everything that I can think of. If there is anything, I'll add a little addition clip, but other than that, I think that we're going to go to the end, so stick around if you want to hear what's coming next and what I'm working on and blah blah blah. Otherwise, I hope you have a great day and great week and so on and so forth. Alright, yeah, I think that about does it for today. So we had a pretty long clip in the middle, but again, I meant to split that up and have it in several parts and everything, and just ended up putting it all in one because why not? But I think it worked out anyway, and we're at the outro now. So if you want to hear anything about what's going on next, basically, the mappers talked me into buying more map assets again, which is something, a problem I have. I really enjoy buying map assets, but we did need a couple more, so I think it's fine. Those are being worked on right now. They should be here within 8 days at a maximum, but more likely it'll be here within 4 to 5. So by the time of next showcase, we should have at least the tile sets to show off and everything, like in a flat image. But other than that, we should also have the actual in-game object within 2 weeks. So, I have them imported and all that stuff. Other than that, I keep saying that, but anyway, the clothing is still being worked on. Hal's working that out, so he's a little bit busy right now. I think everybody is with the coronavirus and everything situation going on, but that's cool. The hairs, like I said earlier, are sort of almost always in, or all in, sorry, and those just need to be tweaked a little bit. You can see currently that there's no hair color being applied to this hair, so that'll be added. I've tweaked all of them so that they're all white and gray, which was a hell of a task because I realized we have like literally 30 times as many hairs as I thought we did, but that's also kind of a good thing because we don't have to worry about that for a little while, and it should look pretty good when we get it up and running in game, so I'm happy about that. And the weapons, as I mentioned earlier, are all finished, so literally every single weapon type in the game is done, except for stuff we'll add later, of course, and that just has to be added to Spine. So once I add those to Spine, I can export them and import them into the game, and that should be pretty cool. I get to test quite a bit of stuff with that and see what works and what doesn't, like with a sword at the hip or with a spear at your back, and see how that functions and looks and all that good stuff. I think that's everything. The only other thing that I can think to mention right now that's coming up is kind of whatever I think up at a whim. I've just really been fixing up the game, making it look better, trying to make things function better, generally speaking, and a lot of that has been going on. So if you're curious about that, feel free to tune into the streams. I'll try to mention it next showcase as well, but there's a bunch of stuff I'm sure I'm missing. There's a lot of chat manager stuff, so chat commands. There's this new tab up here for map-specific text and talking and OOC, so I think I'll go over that next time, but for right now, I hope you enjoyed, and I hope you look forward to what's coming next. I hope you look forward to next showcase, because we should have some really exciting stuff coming there. And thank you guys for being so patient with me. It's been a real joy making this game, and we're really approaching the end. So, the end of development, I should say, for beta, not the end of the game altogether. Anyway, hope you guys enjoyed. Hope you guys have a great day and a great week, and good luck with the virus.